A very good morning, friends. Today we will discuss a very important topic. The topic is faith. Before that, I would suggest you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button so that you get the latest development happening on the channel so that you do not miss anything and you get updated, increase your knowledge, and also share to your friends and relatives so that they also gets enlightened by the book Think and Grow Rich. As it is said, you are made of the five people you are associated with them. So if you want to change your association, you have to share this to them also, so their thinking pattern also gets changed and thereby impacts the overall development of yourself and your friends to think like a rich person. Now, let us come to the chapter 3, the faith, visualization, and belief in attainment of desire. The second step towards riches is the faith. Faith is the head chemist in the mind. When faith is blended with vibration of thoughts, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translate into its spiritual equivalent, and transmit it into infinite intelligence, as in the case of the prayer. The emotion of faith, love, sex are most powerful of all major positive emotions. When the three are blended, they have effect of coloring the vibration of thoughts in such a way that it instantly reaches the subconscious mind, where it is changed into the spiritual equivalent, the only form that induces a response from the infinite intelligence. Love and faith are physics related to the spiritual side of the man. Sex is purely biological and related only to the physical. The mixing or blending of these three emotions has the effect of opening a direct line of communication between the finite thinking of the mind of the man and infinite intelligence. How to develop faith? How to develop faith? There comes now a statement which will give a better understanding of the importance of the principles of autosuggestions, assumes in the transmutation of the desire into its physical or monetary equivalents, namely the faith is the state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principles of autosuggestions. As an illustration, consider the purpose for which you are presumably reading this book. The object is naturally to acquire the ability to translate the intangible thoughts, impulses of desire into physical counterpart money by following the instructions laid down in the chapter on the autosuggestions and the subconscious mind as summarized in the chapter on autosuggestions. You may convince the subconscious mind that you believe you will receive that for which you ask, and it will act upon that belief which your subconscious mind places back to you in the form of faith, followed by definite plan for procuring that which you desire. The method by which one develops faith where it does not already exist is extremely difficult to describe, almost as difficult in the fact as it would be to describe the color of red to a blind man who has never seen the color and nothing which will to compare what you describe to him. Faith is a state of mind which you may develop at will after you have mastered the 13 principles because it is the state of mind which develops voluntarily through the applications and use of these principles. Repetition of affirmations of the order to your subconscious mind is only known method of voluntary development of emotions of faith. Perhaps the meaning may be made clearer through the following explanation as to the way the men sometimes becomes criminals. Stated in the words of the famous criminologist, when the man first comes into the contact with the crime, they abhor it. If they remain in the contact with the crime for a time, they become accumulated to it and endure it. If they remain in the contact with it long enough, they finally embrace it and become influenced by it. This is equivalent of saying that any impulses of thoughts which is repeatedly passed on to a subconscious mind is finally accepted and acted upon by the subconscious mind, which proceeds to translate that impulses into the physical equivalent by the most practical procedures available. In connection with the consider again the statement, all thoughts which have been emotionalized, given the feelings and mixed with the faith, being immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalents or counterpart. The emotions or the feelings portion of the thoughts are the factors which gives thoughts vitality, life, and action. The emotion of faith, love, and sex, when mixed with any thoughts impulses, gives it a greater action than any of these emotions that can be singly. Thoughts impulses, not only thoughts impulses which has been mixed with the faith, but you those but those those which has but not only thoughts impulses which have been mixed with the faith, but those which have been mixed with any of the positive emotions or any kind of negative emotions may reach and influence the subconscious mind. From this statement you will understand from this statement you will understand from this statement, you will understand that the subconscious mind will translate it to its physical equivalent, a thought impulses of negative or destructive nature, just as readily as it will act upon the thoughts impulses of the positive or constructive nature. This accounts for the straight phenomena which so many millions of people experience, referred to as misfortune or bad luck. There are millions of people who believe themselves doomed to the poverty and failure because of some strange force over which they believe they have no control. They are creators of their own misfortune because this negative belief, which is picked up by the subconscious mind and translated into its physical equivalent, this is appropriate place to which to suggest again that you may benefit by passing on to your subconscious mind any desire which you wish translate into its physical or monetary equivalent in a state of expectancy or belief that transmutation will actually take place. Your belief or faith is element which determines the action of your subconscious mind. There is nothing to hinder you from deserving your subconscious mind when giving it instructions through the auto suggestions. As I deserved my son's subconscious mind. To make this result more practical, conduct yourself just as you would if you are already in possession of material things which you are demanding. When you call upon your subconscious mind, the subconscious mind will translate into a physical equivalent by most direct and practical media. available. Any order which is given to it in a state of belief or faith, that order will be carried out. Surely enough has been stated to give a starting point from which one may, through experiment and practice, acquire the ability to mix the faith with any order given to the subconscious mind. Perfection will come through practice. It cannot come by merely reading instructions. If it be true, one may become criminal by association with crime, and this is known fact. It is equally important that one may develop faith by voluntarily suggesting to the subconscious mind that one has a faith. The mind comes finally to take on the nature of influence which dominates it. Understand this truth. Understand this truth, and you will know why it is essential for you to encourage the positive emotions as the dominating force of your mind and discourage and eliminate the negative emotions. A mind dominated by positive emotions becomes favorable abode for the state of mind known as faith. A mind so dominated may at will give the subconscious mind instructions which it will accept and act upon it immediately. Faith is the state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion. All down the ages, the religionists have admonished struggling humanity to have a faith in this, that, and though other dogma or creed. But they have failed to tell the people how to have faith. They have not stated that the faith is the state of mind and that it may be induced by self suggestions. In the language which any normal human being can understand, we will describe all that is known about the principles through which the faith may be developed, where it does not already exist. Have faith in yourself, faith in infinite. Before we begin, you should be reminded again that faith is the external faith is the external exhale which gives the life power and action to impulse of the thoughts. Foregoing sentences is the worth reading a second time and the third and the fourth. It is worth reading loud. Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches. Faith is the base of all miracle and all mysteries which cannot be analyzed by the rules of science. Faith is only known and ordered for failure. Faith is the element, the chemicals which, when mixed with prayer, gives one direct communication with infinite intelligence. Faith is the element which transforms the ordinary vibration thoughts created by finite minds of man into the spiritual equivalent. Faith is only agency through which the cosmic force of infinite intelligence can be harnessed and used by man. Every one of the foregoing statement is capable of proof. The proof is simple and easily demonstrated. It is wrapped up by in the principles of auto suggestions. Let us center our attention, therefore, upon the subject of self suggestion and find out what it is and what it is capable of achieving. It is the well known fact that one comes finally to believe whatever one repeats to one's mind, oneself, whether the statement be true or false. If a man repeats a lie over and over, he will eventually accept the lie as truth. Moreover, he will believe it is to be truth. Every man is what he is because of the dominating thoughts which he permits to occupy his mind. Thoughts which a man deliberately places in his own mind and encourages with sympathy and with which he mixes any one or more of the emotions constitutes the motivating forces which directs and control his every movement, act, and deed. Comes now a very significant statement of truth. Thoughts which are mixed with any of the feelings of emotions constitutes a magnetic force which attracts from the vibration of either other similar or related thoughts. A thought thus magnetized with emotions may be compared to a seed which, when planted in the fertile soil, germinates, grows, and multiplies itself over and over again until that which was originally one small seed becomes countless millions of seeds of the same brand. The is the great cosmic mass of eternal force of vibration. It is made up of both destructive vibrations and constructive vibration. It carries at all times vibration of fear, poverty, disease, failure, misery, and vibration of prosperity, health, success, and happiness, just as surely as it carries the sound of hundreds of musics and hundreds of human voices, all of which maintains their own individuality and means of identification through the medium of radio. From the great storehouse of either, the man mind is constantly attracting vibrations which harmonizes with that which dominates the human mind. Any thoughts, ideas, plans, or purpose which one holds in one's mind attracts from the vibration of either a host of its relatives, adds these relatives to its own force and grows until it becomes the dominating, motivating masters of individuals in whose mind it has been housed. Now let us go back to the starting point and becomes informed as to how the original seeds of idea, plan, or purpose may be planted in mind. The information is easily convinced. Any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through the repetition of thoughts. This is why you are asked to write out a statement of your major purpose or definite chief aim. Commit it to the memory and repeat it in audible words day after day until this vibration of your sound have reached your subconscious mind. We are what we are because of the vibration of thoughts which we pick up and register through the stimuli of our daily environment. Resolve to throw off the influence of any unfortunate environment and to build your own life to order. Taking inventory of mental assets and liabilities, you will discover that your greatest weakness is the lack of confidence. This handicap can be surmounted and timely translated into courage through the aid of principles of autosuggestion. The application of these principles may be made through the simple arrangement and positive thoughts. Impulses stated in the writing, memorize and repeat until they become a part of working environment of the subconscious mind, faculty of your mind. The self confidence formula. Now we will discuss the self confidence formula. First, I know that I will have the ability to achieve the objects of my definite purpose in the life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistence, continuous action towards its attainment. And I here and now promise to render such action. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transforms themselves into the physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the fact of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. The third, I know through the principle of autosuggestion any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the objects back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self confidence. Friends, you can spare 10 minutes for daily for creating a self confidence of yourself. You cannot you. Let us continue further. Fourth point. Fourth point. I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in the life, and I will never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self confidence for its attainment. The fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transactions which does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the force I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cyclism by developing love for all humanity because I know that negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit to the memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with the full faith that it will gradually influence any thoughts and actions so that I will become a self reliant and successful person. Back to this formula is the law of nature, which no man has yet been able to explain. It has baffled the scientists of all ages. The psychologists have named this law autosuggestion, and let us go at that. The name by which one calls this law is of little importance. The importance fact about it is the works for the glory and success of mankind. If it is used constructively, on the other hand, if used destructively, it will destroy just as readily. In this statement may be found a very significant truth, namely that those who go down in the defeat and end their lives in poverty, misery, and distress do so because of negative application of the principle of autosuggestion. The cause may be found in the fact that all impulse of thoughts have a tendency to clothe themselves in their physical equivalent. The subconscious mind, the chemical laboratory in which the thoughts impulse are combined and made ready for translation into the physical reality, makes no distinction between the constructive and destructive thoughts impulse. It works with the material we feed it through our thoughts impulses. The subconscious mind will translate into reality a thought driven by fear just as readily as it will translate into the reality a thought driven by courage or faith. The page of medical history are rich with illustrations of the cases of the suggestive suicide. A man may commit suicide through the negative suggestions as as a man may commit suicide through the negative suggestions just as effectively as any other means. In the Midwestern city, a man named Joseph Grant, a bank official, borrowed a large sum of money from the bank without the consent of the director. He lost the money through gambling. One afternoon, the bank examiner came and began to check the accounts. Grant left the bank, took a room in the local hotel, and went there when they found him 3 days later, he was lying in the bed, waving and moaning. repeating over and over these words, "My God, this will kill me. I cannot stand the disgrace." In short time, he was dead. The doctors pronounced the case one of the mental suicide. Just as electricity will turn the wheels of industry and render useful service if used constructively, or snub or about life if wrongly used, uh, so will the law of autosuggestion lead you to peace and prosperity, or down into the valley of misery, failure, and death. According to your degree of understanding and application of it, if you fill your mind with fear, doubt, and unbelief in your ability to conduct with it, and use the force of infinite intelligence, and the law of autosuggestions will take this spirit of unbelief and use it as a pattern by which your subconscious mind will translate into the physical equivalent. This statement is as true as the statement that 2 and 2 are 4. Like the wind which carries one ship east, another ship west, the law of autosuggestions will lift you up or pull you down according to the way you set your sail of thoughts. The law of autosuggestions through which any person may rise to the altitude of achievement which staggers the imagination is well described in the following verse. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you do not. If you like to win, but you think you cannot, it is almost certain you would not. If you think you will lose, you will lose. If for out of the world we find success begins with the fellow will. It is all in the state of mind. It is all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You have got to think high to rise. You have got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles does not always go to stronger or the faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. The man who thinks he can. The man who thinks he can. Observe the words which have been emphasized, and you will catch the deep meaning which the poet had in mind. Somewhere in your makeup, perhaps in the cell of your brain, there lies sleeping the seed of achievements which arose and put into action would carry you to the heights, just as you may never have hoped to attain. Just as the master musicians may cause the most beautiful strains of music to pour front from the strains of violin, so may you arouse the genius which lies asleep in your brain and cause it to drive you upward to whatever goal you may wish to achieve. Abraham Lincoln was a failure at every time he tried until he was well past age of 40. He was Mr. Nobody from nowhere until a great experience came into his life, aroused the sleeping genius within his heart and brain, and gave the world one of its really great men. That experience was mixed with emotions of sorrow and love. It came to him through Annie, the only woman whom he truly loved. It is known fact that emotions of love is closely alike to the mind of state of mind known as faith, and this for the reason that love comes very close to translating one's thoughts, impulses into their spiritual equivalent. During this work of the research, the author discovered from the analysis of the life work and achievement of hundreds of men of outstanding accomplishment that there was the influence of women's love back of nearly every one of them. The emotions of love in the human heart and brain creates a favorable field of magnetic attractions which causes an influx of higher and finer vibrations which are afloat in the ether. If you wish evidence of the power of faith, study the achievement of men and women who have employed it. At the head of the list comes the Nazer. The Christianity is the greatest single force which influenced the minds of the men. The basis of Christianity is faith. No matter how many people may have prevented or misinterpreted the meaning of this great force, and no matter how many dogmas and creeds have created in its mind, which do not reflect its tenets, the sum and substance of teachings and achievements of Christ which may have been interpreted and miracles were nothing more or less than the faith. If they are any such phenomena as miracles, they are produced only through the state of mind known as faith. Some teachers of religion and many who call themselves Christians neither understand nor practice faith. Let us consider the power of faith as it is now being demonstrated by the man who is well known to all civilization, Mahatma Gandhi of India. In this man, the world has one of the most astonishing example known to the civilization of the possibilities of faith. Gandhi wields more potential power than any man living at this time, and this despite the fact that he has none of the orthodox tools of power, such as money, battle, ships, soldiers, and materials of warfare. Gandhi has no power, money, he has no home, he does not own a suit of clothes, but he does have the power. How does he comes by that power? He created it out of his understanding of the principles of faith and through his ability to transplant that faith into the minds of 200 million people. Gandhi has accomplished through the influence of faith that which the strongest military power on the earth could not, and never will accomplish through the soldiers and military equipment. He has accomplished the astonishing feat of influencing 200 million minds to coalesce and move in unison as a single mind. What other force on the earth except faith would do as much? They come a day when the employees as well as employer will discover the possibility of faith. That day is dawning. The whole world has had ample opportunity during the recent business depression to witness what lack of faith will do to the business. Surely the civilization has produced a significant number of intelligent human beings to make use of this great lesson which the depression has taught the world. During this depression, the world has evidence in the abundance that the widespread fear will paralyze the wheels of industry and business. Out of this experience will arise the leaders in the business and industry who will profit by the examples which Gandhi has set for the world, and they will apply to the business the same tactics which he has used in the building the greatest followings known in the history of the world. These leaders will come from the rank and file the unknown man who know labor now labor in the steel plants, the coal mines, the automobile factories, and in the small towns and cities of America. Business is due for a reform. Make no mistakes about this. The method of the past, based upon the economic emotion combination of force and fear, will be supplanted by the better principles of faith and cooperation. Men who labor will receive more than daily wages. They will receive dividends from the business, the same as those who supply the capital for the business. But first, they must give more to their employers and stop this bickering and bargaining by force at the expenses of public. they must earn the right to dividend. Moreover, and this is the most important thing of all, they will be led or by the leaders who will understand and apply the principles employed by Mahatma Gandhi. Only in this way many may leaders get from their followers the spirit of full cooperation, which constitutes the power in its highest and the most enduring form. This stupendous machine, age in which we live and from which we are just emerging, has taken the soul out of men. Its leaders have driven men as though they were pieces of cold machinery. They were forced to do so by the employees who have bargained at the expenses of all concerned to get and not to give. The watchword of the future will be human happiness and contentment. And when this state of mind shall have been attained, the production will take care of itself more efficiently than anything that has been accomplished where men did not and could not mix the faith and individual interest with their labors. Because of the need for faith and cooperation in operating business and industry, it will be both interesting and profitable to analyze an event which provides an excellent understanding of the method by which the industrialist and the businessmen accumulate great fortune by giving before they try to get. The event chosen for this illustrations dates back to 1900 when the United States Steel Corporation when the United States Steel Corporation when the United States Steel Corporation was formed. As you read the story, keep in mind these fundamental facts and you will understand how ideas have been converted into huge fortunes. First, the United States Steel Corporation was born in the minds of the Charles in the form of idea he created through his imagination. Second, he mixed the faith with the idea. Third, he formulated a plan for the transformation of this idea into the physical and the financial reality. Fourth, he put his plan into action with his famous speech at the University Club. Fifth, he applied and followed through on his plan with persistence and backed it with firm decisions until it has been fully carried out. Sixth, he prepared the way for success by burning desire for success. If you are one of those who have often wondered how great fortunes are accumulated, this story of creation of United States Steel Corporation will be enlightening. If you have any doubts that the men can think and grow rich, this story should dispel that thoughts, that doubts, because you can plainly see in the society in the story of United States Steel the application of major portion of the 13 principles described in this book. This astonishing descriptions of the power of an idea was dramatically told by John Lowell in the New York World Telegram, with whose courtesy it is been reprinted. A pretty after dinner speech for $1 billion. When one or when on the evening of December 12, 1900, some 80 of the nation's financial nobility gathered in the banquet hall of the University Club on the Fifth Avenue to do honors to young men from out of West. Not half a dozen of the guests realized they were to witness the most significant episode in the American industrial history. Edward Simmons and Charles, their hearts full of gratitude for the lavish hospitality bestowed on them by Charles during a recent visit to Pittsburgh, had arranged the dinner to introduce the 38 year-old steelman to the Eastern Banking Society. But they did not expect him to stampede the conviction. They warned him, in fact, that the bosoms within the New York stuffed shirts would not be responsive to the orator, and that if he did not want to board, uh, he had better limit himself to 15 or 20 minutes of polite vaporing and let it go at that. Even John Morgan, sitting on the right hand of the Charles as described Charles as became his imperial dignity. He intended to grace the banquet table with his presence only briefly, and so far as the press and public were concerned, the whole affair was of so little moment that no mention of it found its way into the print the next day. So the two hosts and their distinguished guest ate their way through the usual 7 or 8 courses. There was a little conversation, and that they was of it was restrained. Few of the bankers and brokers had met Charles, whose career had flowered along the banks of the Monongahela, and none knew him well. But before the evening was over, they and with them money masters Morgan were to be swept off their feet, and $1 billion baby, the United States Steel Corporation, was to be conceived. It is perhaps the unfortunate for the sake of history that no record of Charles' speech at the dinner ever was made. He repeated some parts of it at a later date during the similar meeting of Chicago bankers, and still later when the government brought suit to dissolve the Steel Trust. He gave his own version from the witness stand of the remarks that stimulated Morgan into frenzy of the financial activity. It is probable, however, that it was a homely speech, somewhat ungrammatical for the 90s of language, never bothered Charles, full of epigram and tendered with wit. But aside from that, it had Gavler's forts and effect upon the 5 billion of estimated capital that was represented by the dinners. After it was over and the gathering was still under its spells, although Charles had talked for 90 minutes, Morgan led the orator to recede windows where dangling their legs from the high, uncomfortable seats. They talked for an hour more. The magic of Charles' personality had been turned on full force, but what was more important and lasting was the full fledged, clear cut program he laid down for the conservation of the steel. Many other men had tried to interest Morgan in slapping together a steel trust after pattern of biscuit, wire and hoops, sugar, rubber, whiskey, oil, or chewing gum combination. John W. Gates, the gambler, had urged it, but Morgan distrusted him. The Moore boys, the Bill and Jim, the Chicago stock jobbers who had girl together a March Trust and a Cracker Corporation had urged it and failed. Albert, the country lawyer, wanted to foster it, but he was not big enough to impress until Charles took JP Morgan to the heights from which he could visualize the solid results of the most daring financial undertaking ever conceived. The project was regarded as delirious dreams of easy money crackpots. The financial magnetism that began a generation ago to attract thousands of small and sometimes inefficiently managed companies into large and competition crashing combination had become operative in the steel world through the device of that jovial business pirate John W. Gates. Gates already had formed the American Steel and Wire Company out of the chain of the small concerns, and together with the Morgan had created the Federal Steel Company. The National Tubes and American Bridge companies were two more Morgan concerns, and Morey brothers and had foreseen the match and cookie business to form the American group. But by the side of Andrew Carnegie, he ge- genetic uh, vertical trust, a trust owned and operated by 53 partners. Those other combinations were pecuniary. They might combine to their hearts' contents, but a whole lot of them could not make a dent in the Carnegie organization, and Morgan knew it. The elastic old Scot knew it too. From the magnificent heights of the Skikop Castle, he had viewed the first with amusement and then with resentment the attempts of Morgan's smaller companies to cut into the business. When the attempts became too bold, Carnegie he, uh, uh, temper was translated into anger and retaliation. He decided to duplicate every meal owned by his rival. Hitherto he had not been interested in wire, pipe, hoops, or steel. Instead, he was content to sell such companies the raw steel and let them work it into whatever shape they want. Now, with the Charles as his chief and able lieutenant, he planned to drive his enemies to the wall. So it was that in the speech of Charles, Morgan saw the answer to his problem of combination. A trust without underagent of them all would be no trust at all. A plum pounding, as one writer said, without the plums. Uh, Charles' speech on the night of December 12, 1900, undoubtedly carried the influence through not the pledge that the last Endeavour enterprises could be brought under the Morgan tenant. He talked of the world future for the steel, of reorganization, for efficiency, of specialization, of scrapping of unsuccessful meals, and concentration of efforts on furnishing properties of economics in the over traffic of economics in overhead and administrative departments of capturing foreign markets. More than that, he told among them wherein lay the errors of their customary privacy. They purpose, he inferred, had been to create monopolies, raise prices, and pay themselves fat dividend out of privilege. Charles condemned the system in his hottest way. The short-sightedness of such a policy, he told his hearers, lay in the fact that it restricted the market in an era when everything cried for expansion by cheapening the cost of steel. He argued an ever expanding market and would be created more users for the steel would be devised and goodly portion of the world trade would be captured. Actually, through he did not know it, Charles was an apostolic of modern mass production. So the dinner of United University Club came to an end. Morgan went home to think about the Charles Rossi prediction. Charles went back to Pittsburgh to run the business for the Andhra Canary while the grey and rest went back the stock ticker to fiddle around in the anticipation of the next move. It was not long coming. It took Morgan about 1 week to digest the feast of the reason Charles had placed before him when he had assured himself that no financial indigestion was to result. He sent for the Charles and found that young man rather closely. Edward Charles inducted might not like it if he found his trusted company's president had been flirting with empires of Wall Street, the street upon which the Carnegie was resolved never to treat. Now, certain economic historians have professed the belief that from the beginning to the end of the drama, the stage was set by Andrew Carnegie, that the dinner to Charles, the famous speech, the Sunday night confidence between the Charles and the Money King were events arranged by the Canary Scott. The truth is exactly the opposite. When Charles was called in to compensate the deal, he did not even know whether the little boss, as Edward was called, would so much as listen to an offer to sell, particularly to a group of men whom Edward regarded as being endowed with something less than holiness. But Charles did take into the confidence with him in his own handwriting 6 sheets of copper plate figures representing to his mind the physical worth and potential earning capacity of every steel company he regarded as essential start in the new metal fitment. There was a golf game in January on the forced cracking health of St. Edward's link in the Westerner with Edward bundled up in the sweaters against the cold, Charles talking the worry as usual to keep his spirit up, but no words of business was mentioned until the pair sat down the cozy warmth of the cottage. By then, with the same business that had hypnotized the 80 millions of United University Club, Charles poured out the glittering promise of retirement in the comfort of untold millions to satisfy the old man's social capacity. And Eric Captain wrote a figure on the slip of paper, handed it to the Charles, and said, "All right, that is what we will sell for." The figure was approximately dollar 4 billion and was reached by taking the 3.2 billion mentioned by Charles as a basic figure, adding it to the 80 million to represent the increased capital value over the previous 2 years. Later, on the desk of the transatlantic liner, the Scotsman said ruefully to Morgan, "I wish I had asked you uh, uh, more. If you had asked for it, you would have gotten it," Morgan told him cheerfully. There was an uproar. Of course, a British correspondence gap that the foreign steel world was applied by the genetic combination. President Hadley of Yale declared that unless the trust were regulated, the country might expect an empire in the Washington within the next 25 years, but that able to stock manipulators Skin went at his work of showing the new stock at the public so vigorously that all excess water, estimated by some at nearly 6 billion, was absorbed in a twinkling. So Canary has had his millions, and Morgan's synthesized has 62 millions, all and for all its trouble, and all the boys from the gates to grey had their millions. The 32-year-old Charles had his reward. He was made the president of the new corporation and remained in the control until 1930. The dramatic story of the big business, which you have just finished, was included in the this book because it is the perfect illustration of the method by which desire can be transmuted into the physical equivalent. I imagine some readers will question the statement that a mere intangible desire can be converted into the physical equivalent. Doubtless, some will say you cannot convert nothing into something. The answer is in the story of United States Steel that the giant organization was created in the minds of one man, and the plan by which the organization was provided with the steel mills that gave its financial stability was created in the minds of the same man. This, his faith, his desire, his imagination, his persistence were the real ingredients that went into the United States Steel, the steel mills, and the mechanical equipment acquired by the corporation. After it had been brought into the legal existence, were incidental, but a careful analysis will disclose the fact that appraised the value of properties acquired by the corporation increased in the value by estimated $600 million by mere transactions which consolidated them under one management. In other words, Charles' idea plus the faith with which he conveyed it to the minds of J.P. Morgan and others was marketed for a profit of approximately millions, not an insignificant sum for a single idea. What happened to some of the men who thought took their shares of millions of dollars of profit made by these transactions is a matter with which we are not now concerned. The important feature of the astonishing achievement is that it serves as an unquestionable evidence of the soundness of the philosophy he described in this book because this philosophy was wrapped and wove of the entire transaction. Moreover, practicality of the philosophy has been established by the fact that the United States Steel Corporation prospered and became one of the richest and the most powerful corporation in America, employing thousands of people, developing new users for steel, and opening new markets, thus proving that the 6 billion earned profit which the Charles idea produced was earned. Riches begins in the form of thought. The amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into the motion. Hundreds faiths removes the limitations. Remember this when you are ready to bargain with the life for whatever it is that you ask for as your price for having passed this way. Remember also that man who created the United States Steel Corporation was practically unknown at the time. He had was merely Andrew's man Friday until he became the birth to his famous idea. After that, he quickly rose to the position of power, fame, and riches. They are no limitations. There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are offsprings of the thoughts. I will repeat again for your understanding that there are no limitations. There are no limitations to the mind except those which we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are offsprings of the thoughts. Both poverty and riches are the offsprings of the thought. What we learned from this chapter, we have to understand that the faith plays a very critical part in our whether we will be rich or whether we will be poor. The faith, if we have faith combined with our hard work and dedication, we can achieve anything possible, which the author has very well described by giving the real life example. I would suggest all of you to have faith in yourself, have positive faith, as positive faith will make you a wonderful person and make you to achieve new heights. If you are a student, have faith that you are going to clear the exam and you are going to achieve a rank, and you will see that you are going to achieve the same with that hard work, like studying regularly, consistently, so that having faith with practice will make you to achieve the same. If you are a businessman, have faith that you are going to sell the product which you have created or trading traded. If you have faith, you will be able to sell your product to the right consumer. If you are an employee, have faith in the business of your employer. Give your 100% dedication to the work you do, and you will see that you will achieve great heights in your career. If you are a housewife, give your faith in your work and see that you can make your house a memorable place for all to live happily. So that faith is a very powerful tool. If we have faith in ourselves with regular practice, auto suggestions, and etc., we can achieve great heights. The 12 steps to grow and think rich are desire, faith, auto suggestion, specialized knowledge, imaginations, planning, decisions, persistence, forms a mastermind, sex, transportation, subconscious mind, brain. Thank you for today. I would request all to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and give the comments what you believe is the faith responsible for your growth. How does the faith plays an important role in your life? I would like to say that faith in my life is playing a very important role, as I have faith that you will going to subscribe to the channel and you will hit the like button, and I will have around 15 million subscribers in the near future, and I would request you to help me achieve the same. Thank you very much. Have a great day. God bless you.